welcome to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. Coming to you a little early this week because I am on my way to Florida to go to the World Cup with my husband, and with it being the 4th of July weekend, I just decided that I do want to take a little bit of time off. I can't remember the last time that I fully unplugged from the internet, and I probably still won't, but I'm telling myself that I really want to try. So I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode early. We're going to talk about the Casa, Amor Recoupling, the legal drama that is going on with Tom Sandoval. Plus, I have Genevieve from Survivor 47 and season 50 here for an amazing interview. Maybe one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done. She's not afraid to just let it fly, and we are mentioning it all. So super excited for today's show. I hope you enjoy it. So let's get into the Pop 3. West Wilson and that whiteboard video, that 30-minute whiteboard video that I watched 3 times. I have to, it's my job, right? Well, now he's giving some more perspective on his podcast about not really wanting to do that whiteboard video. So Wes said on his podcast he did it reluctantly, saying, I've been doing those for 3 years, so this sounds so stupid, but we talked forever before recording. He said, we've made fun of so many people in so many shows that we have to do Summer House, and I have to take my licks for that one. Basically, I just showed up and sat there and let them roast me. He says we recorded for 2 hours and it's 25-minute cut or something. About leaving the Summer House, Wes said, we're taking a little time out. I'm not filming this summer, which I think ultimately is the right thing for everyone. And I think this wording is very intentional. And I remember when I saw the news that West wasn't returning to Summer House, I can't say that I was surprised, but I also was surprised because the narrative from everybody is that West really cares about being on TV. And so you also have these reports saying it was a mutual decision. Well, maybe it was a mutual decision for this particular season of Summer House. He's saying we're taking a little time out. That to me leaves the door open for other possibilities, whether it's in the city, season 2, or, if Summer House goes to season 12, if he would make an appearance there, or, we've heard about this potential Ozarks spinoff. I don't know. He also says, I'm not filming this summer. So is this another on pause moment, but with a particular person? I don't know. But Bravo and Cocktails did post something this morning about potential Summer House cast. So let me pull that up quickly. Okay, it says, happy Summer House filming week to all who celebrate July 4th weekend. Cast will be staying home the first weekend. Production doesn't want cast/newbie leaks right away. Kyle, Carl, Jesse, Mia, Bailey will be full-time in the house. Lindsay will be in and out like last year, but full-time. Expect 5 to 6 newbies and Sierra appearances throughout. KJ has decided not to return, but possible he can film a scene or 2. And Dara was only part of the show because KJ, so she's out. Ben not asked back as he didn't quite gel with the cast and show like production believed. I'm hearing girls, Jamie and Jolie, another girl, a friend of Mia's, and then 2 to 3 guys connected to Jesse, Carl, and Kyle. So TBD on that. Moving on. This Tom Sandoval story is absolutely wild. And I have 2 stories to get through today. We'll start with the one that came first. So Tom Sandoval's ex-girlfriend, I guess, this is all how we found out they broke up, right? Victoria Robinson was arrested on June 3rd after violently attacking him following an altercation that left him injured and afraid for his safety. According to court documents obtained by TMZ, Sandoval claims the confrontation began after a night of drinking and escalated into a dispute involving Victoria and her father, Will Robinson, at the rental they shared. He alleges Victoria struck him in the face, resulting in injuries, stating, I sustained a bruise near my temple, an eyebrow ridge, and bled from my ear and neck as a result of Robinson striking me that night. He also claims he was hit so hard his vision went blurry. He would see a doctor 2 weeks later about persistent mouth pain from the incident. And despite her arrest, Sandoval said he accepted a phone call from her while she was in jail and helped her family pay her bail bond, later admitting, in hindsight, I deeply regret that decision. He says he's been crashing with friends and staying in hotels in the meantime, saying he's completely displaced while Victoria and her dad keep living in the house. Sandoval is requesting an immediate move-out order, noting, "I am gravely concerned for my safety and well-being, and I need to regain access and control over my home, vehicle, and belongings." There is a video of the altercation between Tom Sandoval and his ex-girlfriend, Victoria, and the dad, Will Robinson. So footage shows, it's like ring camera footage. They're all outside sitting around a fire pit. Victoria's sitting, Will is sitting, and then Tom is standing in the doorway. And he's very animated. He's yelling. His voice is like up a couple octaves, which to me, that's always like the tried and true tell of someone being intoxicated. But essentially they're all yelling at each other, or Tom is doing most of the yelling. Victoria is sitting there, and at one point Tom goes up to her and asks, "Are you recording me?" And like gets in her face, "Are you recording me?" And I don't know, but I believe that's when Tom tries to grab the phone. That's when Will comes up and tries to get in between him, and that's when Tom pushes Will into a lit fire pit. Tom goes stumbling over it, stumbling in it. Tom runs and then runs inside the house. And then we hear, I don't know what's happening, but we hear stuff going on in the background. The photos that came out, I saw them on page 6, was like a hole in the wall. Someone punched a hole in the wall, a bruise over Tom's eyebrow, and then, like he said, bleeding from the neck and a scratch on his neck. While Sandoval got a restraining order against Will and Victoria, Will is clapping back, explaining the DA did not file the case for a reason. He says, "I lifted Tom off my daughter because he was overpowering and twisting her arm and trying to take her phone aggressively after yelling at us in a very aggressive and threatening manner." He adds that he was the one who called the police, not Tom. So this is the one that came out today. Tom Sandoval's ex-girlfriend's dad denied restraining order requests. So Will Robinson was reportedly denied a restraining order request against Tom Sandoval after a recent altercation with him. Will alleges Sandoval shoved him into the fire pit during a confrontation, leaving him with serious injuries. Sandoval, meanwhile, was granted a temporary restraining order against Victoria and Will. Will claimed it was the 5th time Sandoval had become physical with Victoria, and said Sandoval later talked about having a gun, prompting him to seek protection for himself and his daughter. Sandoval has denied wrongdoing, instead alleging Victoria punched him and Will attacked him, writing, "The most recent physical incident occurred on June 3rd when she punched my face and injured my neck and ear." A judge has temporarily ordered Victoria and her father out of Sandoval's home, and a hearing on the restraining order is set for July 16th. I mean, talk about a lot of information to digest. I think we've all seen the video by now, so we know what kicked it off. I don't know what happened after that. It seems like maybe the push in the fire pit was like starting the bull rolling down the hill, and everything else from there ensued. I did see some video clips today of Tom like taking some things out of the house and Victoria yelling at him, and just all around bad relationship. We don't know much about it other than that. Although I will say, do we need to say justice for Billy Lee? Because Billy Lee tried to tell us all 2 years ago that this situation was toxic between Tom and Victoria, and everybody thought Billy Lee was just in love with Tom Sandoval. What did Tom say? That Tom, like, what, there was some type of child involvement. I don't know. Like that Billy wanted Tom to like be the father of the child. I don't know. It was odd. Let's get into Love Island. Is anybody going to tell Casa that Alana got kicked out of the Casa Amor and that's why Zach came back single? I don't know if Zach would have came back single anyways, but he definitely would have, I think, he would have kept on exploring in the situation, because that's what all the guys did, right? They were like, except for Bryce, except for Big Heart Bryce. All the guys are like, this is our experience. The little girls are so high school, and, we are so college, and now we're so college with our Casa Amor girls. And I believe that Zach would have continued to try to pursue something, and he would have been similar to Sincere, coming back to Casa saying, yes, I tried to explore. That's what the experiment is about. But, I still decided to choose you. When is Casa going to learn this information? That's what I need to know. I'm anticipating that it's going to be movie night. but we don't know. The Casa Amor recoupling was one of the most chaotic, wildest, riveting pieces of reality TV television that I have, quite frankly, ever seen. I'm just going to go through the couples. Let's start with Caleb and Jaden. I have no opinion about them because we know nothing about them. Jen and Gal, I almost have no opinion about them because we know nothing about them. I told you guys already, hot take, I'm a gal. I'm a gal. That's like the vibe and aesthetic that I find attractive. And I feel bad for Jen. You know, she said, I forget who she was talking to, but she said to somebody, like, am I not attractive? Am I hideous? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. She doesn't feel like she's been really pursued during this experience, and that makes me sad for her. So I hope that Gal is into Jen and doesn't switch to Kenzie. Because Kenzie, I feel like Kenzie just wants to have her cake and eat it too. That's my personal opinion. She decided to couple up with, why did I put Caleb? That's not who Kenzie's in a couple with. Unless there's two Calebs. Isn't it Devin or something? Dylan. Yeah, sorry. It's hard to keep Kenzie's love connections straight, if I'm being completely honest with you. Can we talk about the spa situation for a second? The Kenzie and Dylan spa session. Did anybody not notice that there were like condoms laid at the top? Like, why are those there? It's very weird. It was very weird. Corbin and Permita had quite the entrance back into the villa. Boo. I started booing along with the girls. I am no better than the high school OG villa girls because I was booing. I was tomatoing Corbin as he was re-entering the villa. And in this moment, they find out that the heart rate challenge was live streamed for the villa girls to see. And it's like, Kenzie's not upset about the physicality. She's upset that Corbin was such a jerk about her, right? Like, oh, I'm immediately done with Kenzie, who's like doing the little woo, you know, the things with the fingers with his boys just broing out. And it's like, y'all already know how I feel about Corbin. Probably my least favorite person on this season of Love Island, and that's saying a lot. Although, I don't know, Sincere also is like really, really hard to like at this point. I'll get to Sincere, and I really want to like start talking about Sincere, but I have to restrain. I have to hold my thoughts. Parmita, unfortunately, you know, has to take a few strays because she's defending her man up there. And I do love that the girl squashed the beef pretty immediately in Sunday's episode. You know, Trinity's like, Parmita, I'm sorry. It's nothing against you. I understand you've known this guy for 3 days, but we've known him for 3 weeks. And, you know, he has been moving very disrespectfully. We'll see if Corbin gets his act together, straightens up. But like, if I'm Kenzie, I'm never speaking to Corbin ever again. So I already talked about them a little bit. I had Kenzie and Dylan next. Kenzie and Caleb, Zach and Kata. Again, when is somebody going to let Kata know that Zach's connection got booted out the villa for an old Snapchat? I feel like I was like excited. I shouldn't say excited. You know, the smile was on my face. I was like, oh, it's love, you know, whenever Kata and Zach got back together. But I'm like, is it? Is it really? And I hate the fact that he was laying up in bed with her saying, love you, and then saying, oh no, it's a joke. Don't piss me off. Zach has already pissed me off one too many times this season. Don't piss me off by telling Kata you love her and then 5 seconds later being like, oh no, it's just a joke. Even if you say that, because trust me, I've been in that situation before where, you know, this guy tells me he loves me and then I'm like, what? And he says it again. And then later I get the text message and I say it back, love you. And he goes, yes, love you as a friend. And I'm like, what? Are you insane? Are you psychotic? Are you a sociopath? Like, you're just supposed to say that to a girl that's into you without really meaning it. And also, Zach's conversation was Sincere about, oh, Melanie ruined like your really nice moment at the fire. I'm going to need you to shut up, Zach. Real quick, which leads me to Melanie and Sincere. I'm not surprised that Melanie and Sincere chose each other. Again, I feel like Sincere was not that into Amora. And I know that we saw some more on the unseen bits. I didn't watch it, but I saw it like posted on social media that Sincere said to Amora, had there been more time, you would have been the one. What? Like, absolutely. I genuinely think that Sincere just tells girls whatever they want to hear. Whatever girl is standing directly in front of him, he'll say whatever he needs to, get them to fall head over heels, googly eyes, heart eye emoji, when he really doesn't mean any of it. And he says later in a confessional, like, I tell the truth, but I don't tell the whole truth. It's like, that's called lying, first of all, Sincere. And it's hard for me to be like, yes, Melanie, period. Did I love her yelling at Sincere? Yes. But at the same time, she's still taking him back. And the very next day, she's crying on the terrace because she's like, he's making me look a fool. He's been making you look a fool. And what's going to end up happening is Amora came in, right, at the end of last night's episode, Sunday night's episode. Amora's going to tell Melanie everything. And it's going to be a tale as old as time. She's going to start crying. She's going to be like, I'm done with it, whatever. A couple days later, she's going to give him another chance. And then movie night's going to happen. And she is going to have a mental breakdown. She just is. That's just what's going to happen. And thank God the next couple to come through the villa door is Bryce and Trinity. Bryce and Trinity have won the season, in my opinion. Wrap it. It's already done. Like, mark this moment. What is it? June 29th at 10:15 a.m. If they don't win the season, it's a farce. I don't care if they're playing us or not. I don't think that they are. I've seen a lot of that on social media where they're like, oh, Trinity and Bryce are just trying to be the next Nicolandria. They want to win $100,000. I don't even care at this point if they're just trying to win $100,000. At least I like them. And I like them together. And I do feel I need to apologize to Bryce because when Bryce came through on the first day, he was like, I'm a model, but I'm also super sensitive. And I was like, oh, here we go again. It's like every super hot guy who's a model is always like, no, but yes, I'm hot, but I'm also super sensitive. Bryce actually is. Big heart Bryce. We love him. We stan him. I've been a Bryce girl from the beginning, and a lot of people were not on the Bryce train. I'm happy to say that I always was. And Trinity, too. I feel like she is just the star of the show. She is authentically herself. She's not afraid to speak her mind, speak her truth. She's also hilarious. She's the comedic relief of the show. So congratulations to Bryce and Trinity on winning $100,000 as of June 29th at 10:15 a.m. Woo, Casey and TT was quite the entrance. Well, first Anaya gets up and she does not choose Carl. Biggest fumble of the season. And I said this last week. I think Anaya purposefully chose someone that she wasn't super into at when Casa Amor happened in the villa. Maybe even subconsciously because she knew deep down that she still wanted to be with Casey. We didn't see a whole lot of conversations between all of these people. I do think that Anaya was into him, but I don't really see her being all that like physically attracted to him. And that's not to say that he's not attractive. Did you see him coming out of that cake with like the Hercules-esque muscles? I just feel like she purposefully picked someone that she knew she wasn't going to pick over KC. And maybe I'm just too seasoned in reality TV, but if I'm Anaya and I see that I'm last, I know that something dramatic is about to happen at my expense, and I'm going to choose Carl. Like, I'm not going to be up there looking a fool. Casey walks in with TT, and all hell breaks loose, right? Because everyone's really pissed at Casey for the way that he moved. And for me, there's just a disconnect with what's going on between Casey and Anaya, because Anaya is heartbroken over this, right? We see it in Sunday's episode. The first 10 minutes of Sunday's episode was a hard watch. I mean, she is really going through it. And then you have Casey saying in Casa Amor, they have nothing in common. Nothing. And other things that make me believe that there was no romantic spark between them whatsoever based on the things that Casey was saying. And I'm like, I don't understand. The juxtaposition between that is really crazy to me. And I don't necessarily know who's to blame for it. I don't know if Casey was leading Anaya on, or if Anaya made the situation out to be something that it wasn't. I kind of feel like there is a middle lane to that because, the love letters, they still were like professing their love to each other, although there was no one else for the two of them to pick. And, the fact that Casey is still holding on to the first day on the door, it's like, dude, let it go. That's just the way it is. I've seen the meme running around of like, you know who was alone on their first day standing alone? Cordell. So it's like, get over it. And he's so like, no one picked me. I don't even really think it's about that. It's about the fact that there were no other bombshells to come in besides Sol, who was so wrapped up in Sincere that she really didn't have any time to explore with Casey, and Jen, who was never into Casey, Kada, who was never into Casey. There was not enough bombshells coming through the door for anyone to really test Anaya and Casey. So they almost always were in this default couple. Now, that being said, just as Meg Thee Stallion said, you don't need to put these other women down in order to hype up this new connection that you found in Casa Amor. And I feel like that is where Casey is really doing Anaya dirty. And I don't like it. I don't like the way that he's been moving in regards to that. The fight, I can't. The fight between TT and Trinity, first of all, TT, you just got here. You are not going to go against our winner, Trinity. But I also am glad that they squashed it relatively quickly as well. And even Anaya and Tiara had a conversation on the terrace, and, they're cool. So we have hope that the girlies are going to make it out alive. But like, wow. Anaya said she really regrets not bringing in Carl, which... You guys, I've wrote Caleb 3 times because my next bullet point says Caleb and Amora. No, it's Carl and Amora. I don't know what's the deal with Caleb, but the twist is that out of the cakes pops Carl and Amora to wreak havoc in the villa. Amora's going to spill all the tea to Melanie. I don't know what Carl's going to do. If Carl is still going to be into Anaya, who just, rejected him, or if he might try to couple up with Amora. I don't know. Time will tell. Here's what I do know. There has never been a reality TV Carl that I do not love and adore. It's almost like God knew that we were going to be in the absolute trenches of darkness this season of Summer House and this season of Love Island USA. And he was like, you know what? To bring some live, laugh, love energy, may I present to you Carl, who looks like Hercules popping out of a cake. And may I present to you Carl, sweet baby angel, coming through the broken summer house door. What is it about these reality TV Carls that we're just like, oh, we can take a breather. We know that this guy is not going to be our sleep paralysis demons for as long as these seasons are airing. And also, why did they get looked over romantically? Can we do like a joint Bachelor season like they did with Rachel and Gabby? I don't know. Can we create a spinoff, Carl's Find Love? I don't understand why the Carls, the baby angels of the world, are always getting the short end of the stick. All right, now for the deep dive. If you're a Survivor girly, you are going to love this interview with Genevieve Mushaluk. We first met her on Survivor 47. She returned for the biggest season of Survivor ever, season 50, and had, I think, the worst luck ever when it came to that. We're going to talk about her journey, her relationship with Aubrey, what she's looking forward to next. If the Traitors is on the table, there's a lot to discuss with her. So I hope you guys enjoy this interview with Genevieve. MPT listeners, this is a bucket list interview for me as a avid lover of Survivor. Genevieve has been at the top of my list for people to interview. So Genevieve, welcome to MPT.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Morgan. I'm excited.
How's life post-Survivor 50 been for you?
Life post-Survivor has sort of 2 chapters for me. So there's life post when you come back from the island, and then there's life post-airing. And life post airing for season 50 is different than life post airing in season 47, because life post airing, when I got back from season 47 and airing was done, I was already in 50 casting. So Survivor never really left my brain. And so for the 5 or 6 years leading up to 47 before I played, it was always this cloud like looming over me. And I don't mean looming in a negative way, but it's just always there. It's like my dream to play. I'm applying, I'm getting rejected. And then I play, and then I'm in casting, and then I play. And so life post 50 is the first time I feel like in 7 years that there is no Survivor cloud, for better or worse, over me. So it's
Are you
different.
in?
It's
Yeah.
crazy. I'm like noticing stuff around the house I didn't before. I'm like, when was the last time these baseboards were done to? Like now I'm like really locked in on real life now.
Well, that kind of, in a roundabout way, answers my next question, but I'm always just curious what part of the journey is actually the hardest for a player. Is it those rejections? Is it going through casting? Is it playing? Is it waiting for it to air? Or is it, after the season's all said and done and you're wondering what's next? What's been the hardest part for you?
Ooh, I think it varies significantly by player, because I think for the casting process, like depending on your rejection sensitivity levels, depending on how much you really emotionally invest in the process, it can be all consuming and devastating. Like I remember going through the process for years, and each year I would get a little further. And it's a long casting process with lots of steps. If you want to know about it, I can't talk about it because I have an NDA, but go on Reddit. There's a lot of stuff and it's like decently accurate. But so I would like neurotically check my email. And if I got something from the casting person, like you could have shot me with a bullet, I'm sure I would have survived and like done a happy dance, because that's how much adrenaline and joy would have been going through my body. And then when you get ghosted, which happens, or you get a rejection call, it's like that feeling on the other end of the spectrum. And so it just depends like how you can ride that emotional wave during that process. And then when you come back from playing, you can come back, I think, in different stages. I've seen people come back and they've got a lot of questions or a lot of regrets, or they do like the what if game to the point that it kind of drives them crazy. And then you just sort of sit and marinate in this state of unknown until the airing, because we don't see episodes before everybody else does. So the biggest, like, the the biggest stress moment for me during airing is always like the day of my boot episode, because it's like, how's this gonna go? And I don't know. And I'm gonna watch it in real time with my husband and my parents. And like, are they gonna see stuff that's uncomfortable? Like, I know I'm gonna cry. I know they're gonna cry, but like, how much are we gonna cry? Right. And so it's a lot. And you never know what your story is gonna be used as or shown as. I mean, the the season is not a documentary of what happened. It is, in like large part, a story of why the winner won. And then there's, everyone's little journey and the role it kind of plays in the winner's journey or in like major side quests, but it's not a full documentary from any one person's POV. So you never really know what your story will be reduced to.
I'm also curious too. I've heard players talk about how hard it is psychologically to return to normal life after playing once. I mean, you played twice. Just little things like, is this person lying to me? I mean, have you experienced that, or were you able to kind of wipe your hands clean of that?
Yeah, I had none of the like trust issues coming back. I mean, I have trust issues, but those are not from Survivor. Those are from like every guy I've ever dated. So that's like, so I cannot blame that on CBS. I had none of that coming back. And for me, I think part of what helps with the coping is compartmentalizing. And I very much view like the time I am in Fiji like a sports game. Like whistle blows, you step foot in Fiji, you play your hardest, so does everybody else. Whistle blows for you when you're voted out, game over. And like nothing is inherently personal unless people go out of their way to make it so. And I think just compartmentalizing it makes it easier to come back and not be like, oh, everyone's lying to me. It's like, no, that happened on the field, so to speak.
I'm curious to know what your point of view is on your luck on season 50 now that you've seen it in its, rare form.
I'm curious to know, what is your point of view?
You had the unluckiest go, I think, of all time, which I think really bums a lot of us out. A lot of us Genevieve stands out because we know what you're capable of. So for you to get an idol that you can't use and give it away, and then to, get voted out in this blood moon twist. I mean, for me personally, I hated it.
I kind of felt similarly. It was it was so disappointing for that to be the idol mechanic. And I've had so many like informal therapy sessions over glasses of rosé with my girlfriend. So like I can appreciate like you get a bad bounce, and like I really don't think when you show up to play Survivor, you cannot count on anything. I don't necessarily love the like expect the unexpected nature that Survivor's taking, because I find the most interesting part of the game being what players do, and be that having the like wild card element as opposed to, sort of game mechanics being wild cardish. But yeah, I hated the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol concept, because by virtue of finding it, you are not gonna like realistically, you're not gonna get it back. If you had a hope at getting it back, it's likely in a scenario that you could control. So like as a post-merge like function, I think there is more game utility to that. Also, personal note, so many people send me that clip of Billie Eilish in an interview, kind of like rolling her eyes at it. And I was like, oh my God, you don't even care that like you had this effect on the game and my life. And like I could have used
Right.
$1 million, let alone $2 billion. And I'm not saying I would have won it, but I could have had a real chance as someone with like no meaningful connections on this cast. An idol could have been so helpful. And like, trust me, I would have played it the night I went home if I had it. So yeah.
Well,
Ugh.
not to mention, the mechanics of it, it didn't work for anybody. So it just turned out to be, I'm sorry, like a huge flop.
Yeah, I think it was like in season 50, it was a net negative. Like whatever positive aspects could have been in terms of the potential, it wasn't realized. And I also don't love, like, I don't approach the game with the idea that I'm not fully results oriented. So let's say it could have worked out in a way that helps a fan favorite out there. I don't necessarily think that means it's a good mechanic either.
Right.
That's a really results oriented analysis of it. But yeah, maybe it has its place in the game, but I think then it should be, let's say we're at merge and I can decide, then interestingly, I have to decide, okay, Morgan trusts me. If I give it to her, I have an actual shot at blindsiding her, because I only benefit from this if I can blindside you. And
Right.
it's a lot easier to blindside someone who isn't looking for it, which means it's a lot easier to blindside an ally. And then are
Right.
you the type of player who gives an idol to an ally and cuts them loose just so you have an idol? Do you value that ally more than that idol? Um, I'm probably voting you out and trying to get the idol back, Morgan, if I could have.
Okay. Now that it's all said and done, the consensus amongst you guys, amongst the cast of season 50, how do they really feel about all of the twists in general?
Ooh, I think it depends who you ask. I mean, the like Mr. Beast twist, that, arguably saved Rick, and it was fun. And his kids like Mr. Beast, and now he's got this cute coin, right? So
Yeah.
I think, and the people who were not working with me, I think they freaking love the Boomerang Idol and the Blood Moon. So I think it really depends who you ask. I know there's 3 of us who hate the Blood Moon. So there's that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was, kind of my thought process watching it back too, is that yes, when it works out, it's great. But if that coin flip had been on the other side, can you imagine how angry Survivor fans would have been? And I feel like, who got the opposite side of the coin flip was people like you and people like Christian, where again, we're not really giving them the opportunity to strategically play. The game is happening to them. It's not, how can I impact the game?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think there's some twists that I like because they are unsettling and they force you to think in creative ways that we haven't seen in Survivor. And those are the types of twists I like, where it's like, okay, the game has become a little homogenous. Now we are going to introduce a decision point where you have to really think through some like cost benefit analysis. where it's just like, okay, this is happening to you, Morgan, so make a meaningful decision that doesn't have much bearing on the outcome. Then it's like, okay, you're kind of playing Survivor for me, in which case you don't really need me here. Like,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about them doing the open era for 51?
I am okay. So I am not like I was gonna say I'm not paid by CBS. I am. Like, you do get a consolation prize, but they are not controlling what I have to say here. And I am not like a, survivor till death person, but I am genuinely excited for open season because I hope that I didn't realize that new era meant that production felt like they had to stick to new era for that whole time period of 10. I don't like, was that your impression? I was like, oh, were you guys rule bound to like follow this format? Like
Yeah, I didn't even put two
self-imposed
and two
maybe?
together until you just said that.
Yeah. So I always thought that they had license or felt like they had creative license to do whatever they wanted any different season. But now we are getting it like expressly said to us. And so I'm like, I'm ready. Bring back some of the stuff you've done before that we all loved because there's a reason we are still watching. And for me, at least, the reason is the people. Like, if you want, like, I don't mean gimmicky in a bad way, but if you want like twists and like flash, that is more Beast Games-esque. Like, the game design really dictates that. But if you want more like human, interesting psychology, emotion, like, that's what grabbed me to Survivor. I don't know, and maybe
Mhm.
you can, like, if you have a different perspective, Morgan, of what made you like Survivor growing up. But like for me, it was that. It was like ordinary people doing extraordinary things that I hadn't thought of.
What do you think viewers didn't get to see about your game that you wish we would have?
I don't know. I'm always like, you guys see too much. I'm like, show them less. Make me look cooler. What didn't you guys get to see? There was a whole side relationship with Rizzo, which was incredibly beneficial to my game. And I think had there not been a blood moon and it had just been the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol, let's say we all get together at Merge, what I was describing of that juxtaposition and internal conflict of like an idol and an ally, pick one, you can't have both. That would have been a really interesting thing to weigh out. And I joke of like, well, I would have picked the idol, but there is so much value in a good ally. And that's what Rizzo was for me. Like, I knew things because he had connections that I just wasn't able to get because he was so unassuming and people genuinely trusted him. People with like a lot of power, with big survivor egos, were comfortable with him and fed him information, which then he fed to me because we had a good working relationship from the beginning. So that whole storyline, had there not been a blood moon, I think it could have materialized to like some real conflict of what's the right thing to do in this situation with someone who's such a good ally.
Something we did see that got a lot of opinions on social media was the Zach Brown reward, and you were there. So I want to know, were you surprised that that was the reaction on social media? And what was it like really on the island?
Okay, can you rebrief me on the reaction of social media? Because I am not as plugged in as I should be, but I know the general consensus among my group of people was there were some people, I would say some of like my older friends and family were like, this is so cool. And then some of my younger friends and family were like, what? Can we swear on this?
Yeah.
They're like, what the fuck? So
Yeah, I mean, my algorithm was more the latter.
I was out there and I don't love the celebrityification of Survivor because I think the whole concept is you are in this made up world that is very sanitized and built around you. Like, if you try and interact with a camera person, they ignore you. They're meant to be a fixture because you are in this world that you have created, and the social hierarchy that forms there is meant to be insulated, at least in my opinion, meant to be insulated. So that is your world. And it's like kind of like Lord of the Flies. And even if you're important outside of Fiji, nothing outside of Fiji matters. And so when you bring in these guests, it's like worlds colliding, and it's like this reminder of, oh, this is a TV show. And
Mm.
when I feel like Survivor is at its best is when the people out there have forgotten to the extent that they can that they're on a TV show, and they are just fully immersed, and this is their reality, this is their life, and that's how they're behaving, and it's not for the cameras. And as soon as you introduce things about real life, it's like, oh yeah, it's a TV show. And that kind of ruins it in the moment for me. That said, that reward was amazing. I, as I always do anytime I'm at the sanctuary, got into the bucket of beers immediately. And I, like, you can kind of tell. So a lot of my friends text me because there's a scene from that reward where it's like I'm on the hammock, and I'm kind of like slurring, like, you can play whatever you want. And I am like fully juiced at that point. Like, because it doesn't take much when you're starving.
Right.
So yeah.
This might be a dumb question, but I always wonder that anytime there's alcohol on a reward, I'm like, how quickly do they get buzzed? Like, do they ever get hung over? Is there a limit?
So, okay. And let me tell you, because I feel like I can already feel like the judgment, even not from you, Morgan, but I can just feel it. So let me just preempt that. I always was like, it's so silly when people get drunk on rewards in Survivor. Like, don't you want to be strategic? You risk saying things you don't want to say.
Right.
Like, why would you ever do that? Okay, when you are out there and you are starving and it's hot and you see a bucket of beers or you see a wine bottle, if you enjoy casual drinks as part of your daily life, you will really enjoy it on Survivor. And there'll be a part of your brain that's like, I shouldn't. But then your like survival instincts kick in and they're like, but I'm thirsty and I'm hungry and let's just consume all of this. And so that's generally my approach, is let's just consume all of this. And before I had finished the first beer of that Zach Brown reward, I could like feel it. But for the Operation Italy reward, the guys got into the wine. I got a bucket of beers. To your question of, is there a limit? I drank the bucket of beers and then we were staying there overnight. And I was like, do you think, like, just shouting into the world, because there's people all around you, it's like, do you think it would be possible to refill on the bucket of beers? And then I like got took for a confessional and I come back and there's a full bucket of beers. So I think like if to the extent you want to prejudice your own game with alcohol, they will allow you, I think, within reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did get very silly and happy that night and then forgot to pull the buff over my head as I was sleeping and woke up with like 50 mosquito bites all over my
Oh,
face.
no.
So that was bad. In terms of a hangover, no, never had one out there. And I think it's probably because your adrenaline is just like pumping or at least for me, like I am in fight or flight mode the entire time I'm there. I didn't feel anything. I rarely ever felt hunger, rarely ever felt tired, even when I was. Like, it's just like panic mode nonstop.
I want to get into the Aubrey of it all because the way I watched it back and even when I didn't know that Aubrey had won, when it was like you guys duking it out, I was thinking whoever makes it through this is going to win. Did you feel that like as it was happening?
No.
Then you're like,
Not
no,
in the moment.
you're giving too
No.
much credit.
No, I understand the edit. One, I never felt like I was going to win. And based on the like time that I was there with her, I didn't see her winning. Like, but I was very, I think, underestimating the like positive relationship she had coming into the game and the like goodwill that was there and people who were comfortable with her. But no, I didn't see. And like watching it, knowing it, how and like watching back, I understand what the edit was trying to accomplish, but it definitely didn't feel that way in real life. It just felt like really awkward.
I'm just curious if you have talked to her since.
No.
Not
And
at all.
people ask me all the time, like, did you get your coat back? Like, I have not. And that was a nice wool blend coat. So I hope it's like
Well, she
somewhere
did wear it,
donated to
too.
someone in Fiji.
Yeah, I mean, she did wear it. So does that give you a little bit of comfort?
I know, put to good use. Yeah. I saw little Rizzo wearing, I shouldn't say a little, he's like taller than I am. I saw Rizzo wearing it at one point. That was cute. So yeah, love. The legacy lives on, the red jacket.
True.
Lore from wardrobe. I had really pushed for in season 47 a hat. Like I really wanted a hat. and I wanted a hoodie and I wanted Crocs. And I basically, wardrobe is a whole function. Like if you're going to play Survivor, you need to understand like the negotiation starts with wardrobe because it is still tied to your profession. So I'm a lawyer and it was like, we want you in blazer-ish and oh, you can't have Crocs or flip-flops. I'd sent in like my hot pink Birkenstocks. They're like, no, we really want you in like loafers or something formal. So I got Sperry's and like tried to massage it. For season 50, I knew they weren't going to give me a baseball hat, but I was like, okay, the instruction is wear something similar to last time. So the red jacket. Everyone talks about the red jacket. I have to do the red jacket. What kind of hat is the hat that is most likely to be approved if I submit this to wardrobe? So where does your mind go, Morgan? If I was like, okay, you're going to just try your best. What type of hat are you submitting to wardrobe to go with this red blazer?
I mean, I don't want to say a fedora, but that's the first thing that came to my mind.
It was the first thing that came to my mind too. And so, but I was like thin. I can't do a thin brim fedora. That's insane. So I submitted a giant brimmed red fedora to wardrobe and was like, please, I really need this. I ruined so many shots in 47, like doing this to like shade my eyes with my hand over my face. Like, please, can I get this hat? And after that, I was so proud of myself. And I like went and talked to my husband and Mark was like, are you crazy? If they say yes to this, you are going to be memeified immediately into Carmen Sandiego. You cannot have a red blazer and a giant brimmed hat. So yeah, they declined it, but there is an alternate universe where there's no Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol, there's no Blood Moon, and I look like Carmen Sandiego playing Survivor Season 50. So get me in that timeline, please, people.
You were at the live finale. Can you take us inside that fire making challenge blender? I mean, what was that like to witness in person?
Oh, okay. Also, I have so many thoughts on the live finale. I feel like it was not a reunion and there was so much like that could have been spoken about amongst that cast, like tension points we saw in the show that you could have like wrapped a bow on. So anyways, okay, that moment. Again, let me say, I am not a survivor till death. I am not a Jeff defender, but it was, as someone who was there firsthand, so not Jeff's fault because there's so many people running around backstage and we are held in a room and then like cued to go when it's your segment. And like, you don't question, you're not like, you know, I'm like, are you sure it's my time? Like, no, I've never done anything like this before. That I walk where they tell me to walk. I go where they tell me to go. Jeff's got his lines. He's prepped from wherever. And so we are watching it from the back room. And from my POV, I'm walking back. They've pulled our whole pre-jury group is like walking back. The jury group's walking up. And then they've got like Rizzo sort of on deck somewhere. And we go back and there's a screen in the back room so we can watch the broadcast from the back room. And we notice, okay, the jury's now sitting all out and there's an empty stool. And we're like, why then is Rizzo queued up? Like they're a segment ahead. And we're sort of realizing in real time, but because you don't have the audio of the like show on the stage, Jeff has no idea that he is a segment too early and it's like been queued up. Like they missed, I don't know if they condensed or they missed a segment. Like I have no clue what happened. There's so many people in like black t-shirts and black pants running around backstage. And it was, oh my God, it was like genuinely very stressful. It was not, that was one of the moments where I was like, oh my God, like who is getting fired? Like this is
I mean, not to be dramatic, but it was like one of the bigger mistakes I've seen made on live TV. And, you know, to your point, I know it's not Jeff's fault, but you're just wondering like, whose fault is it? And where did it go wrong? And what do you do to correct? There's really nothing you can do. And not to mention it was in the finale, up until that point, the most crucial part. It's like, how do you watch a fire making challenge after knowing that, you know, Rizzo's going to take that final seat? It was like, oh my, I couldn't believe it.
It was so tough. And like, same thought as you, Morgan. I was like, yeah, who is getting fired for this? And hopefully they have started sprinting out of this like Paramount lot already. But I feel like that's kind of the deal as the host, like, right? Like Jeff gets paid the big bucks. He gets to bask in the glory of Survivor. I do feel like as much as it's not his fault, like you then also have to take the punches when things go wrong. Like, you are the
Yeah.
face of it for better or for worse. I felt very bad for Rizzo because I feel like he articulated at the end of his fire making segment, he articulated his view of the game and like a lot of gratitude in the segment, but it was totally overshadowed by then like the recovery and, oh, what do you have to
Yeah.
say about it? And it just like kind of stole his thunder. And bear in mind, like, our families are in the audience. His family was in the, like, it's just, yeah. As much as it's like a disappointing way for a viewer and a fan to watch it, having played
Oh,
now, I
yeah.
can't detach myself from the player POV of it and like him and his family. And that is like very, very heartbreaking. But
Yeah.
he's such a good sport. I wouldn't have rolled with it. I would have been crying. Like when Jeff brought him back on stage and was like, so Rizzo, blah, blah, and they like recovered from it. If it was me, I would have been like,
I'm sure you've been asked this question a million times, but I don't know the answer. So if you were on the jury, who would have gotten your vote and why?
I feel like that's a tough one because I wasn't there. So I've heard different POVs of what the game looked like after I was gone. Obviously, I've seen what the game looked like from an edit perspective, but what I voted for in season 47, which ultimately led me to vote against my ally Sam and for Rachel to win, was I preferenced and prioritized control. So the way I had like thought about it to myself in the simplest terms is like, if our season was a painting, who held the paintbrush the most? Like, really had the most control over the outcome of what shaped our season. And Sam, I feel like in 47 was always trying to grab the brush, and he did such a good job every time it looked like it was going to be the end of his life. He'd steer the brush back on in a different direction. But majority of the picture, when you divide it up amongst all of us, was painted by Rachel.
Hmm.
And I don't know who that was out of those three, to be honest. And I think what I didn't appreciate about returning player seasons of Survivor is how much is my perspective and maybe a, inappropriately hot take or bitter take, whatever. But so much of the game is determined, I think, before you get to Fiji. And that, I don't think it's with bad intent. I think it's just like, okay, Morgan, if we're friends and guess what? We're close enough that we both know we're in the casting process and we're out there and I could vote out you or John Smith, who I don't know or care about. I'm going to vote out that guy because I like you and I know you. And
Hmm.
if it's a final three and you guys played comparable games, or maybe he was a bit better than you, but I like you and I know you and I know what the money would do for you, I'm going to vote differently than if I just showed up and didn't know you or John Smith and I'm only judging based on what happened in Fiji. Like, I think there is such a different criteria of what makes a winner on a returning player season. I don't know. I would have gone with who I thought had the most control over the game.
Well, Jonathan said similar things in his exit press. He said it a little differently than you did, saying that he felt like previous seasons contributed to who, was voted for at the end because of the history that Aubrey had compared to him only playing one time. I'm just curious your thoughts on his point of view and what you would say in response to that.
That's a good. So let me also qualify this by saying I haven't listened to anyone's exit press, not even my own. Like, I know roughly what I said, but like I don't go back and listen to mine, let alone anybody else's. But I did see stuff on social media where it's like, Jonathan's exit press is fact.
Yeah.
Sorry. And that did come across my head. In the like 5 to 10 minutes I scroll Instagram a day, that one did come across my desk. Um, I think everybody who makes it to the end probably thinks that they deserve to win. And so I think it's probably hard to say from that perspective. But I do agree that those like pre-existing relationships play into it, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that's like, I don't think that should count against Aubrey any more than it counts against anybody in a returning player season. Like, that is a benefit that the more people you know who like you, that's an advantage. The more people who you know who don't like you, that's a disadvantage. Coming in neutral puts you somewhere between those two. Like, that's kind of how I look at it. I think that's true at every stage of the game, not just at jury votes, but it is important on like who is on that jury for sure.
This is a completely random question, like hard left, but as a Love Island fan. The rumor is that when you are filming a season of Survivor in Fiji, you can
Yes.
see the Love Island lights.
So, okay, when we are on the actual island playing, I honestly can't recall ever seeing them, but from Ponderosa, definitely. And you can like sometimes hear like booms, like, and I'm just like, particularly, okay, so when you are voted out of Survivor, you go back to this place called Ponderosa. And for old seasons, there would have been a pre-jury trip. I'm sure you know about that, Morgan. But for the new era, what they were doing is if you didn't make the jury, the sort of as the jury's ready to come to Ponderosa, the pre-jury fly home. So there's different waves. For season 50, they kept us all there the entire time to avoid spoilers. Jokes on all of us if you ever looked on Reddit. They actually last minute decided to send some of us home on the plane the day early. And so that kind of like we were kept there arguably for no reason. I would say for the reason of an all expense paid vacation. I really enjoyed it. But definitely there were some evenings where I was like watching the sunset, sipping a margarita, hearing like byproduct sound waves from the Love Island villa. Yes. Yeah.
And you knew that it was the villa? Or were you like, where is this coming from?
I originally was like, are there fireworks? Is there a party? Like, why is there just like kind of random base in this resort section of Fiji? And then one of the people working at Ponderosa was like, oh yeah, like it's Love Island.
That is so great.
Oh my God, their experience so much different. Like, that should have been like, forget Mr. Beast. We should just do like the Love Islanders are in their own ecosystem. And like, if you want to mash up, send them to live with us for a day, see what relationships are real, send us to live with them for a day. And like, let us, Survivor's Gone Wild.
There's a lot of guys right now on Love Island that could use an Exile Island moment. We'll just put it that way.
Send them away.
Would you ever do Traders? Do you want to do Traders?
I'm so torn. It's not that my brain is short circuiting. It's that I'm like actively going back and forth in my head. I think Traders would be such a fun experience, but I think there are some like fundamental flaws that make the game almost more about being on TV than playing the game. Like, what is my incentive to vote out a traitor when I find them, right? So like, if I find them and I'm loyal to them, we're both probably going deep enough. And so the game starts, in my perspective, not when you find a traitor, but like once you're deep enough that you actually have to start making decisions. And before then, it's just like a little bit more random, particularly if you're not a traitor and can just get murdered. But it's really fun. And I'm hosting a backyard version of Traders that some of my Survivor and non-Survivor friends are going to play. And so like, I find it very therapeutic to get like my friends to play these games and then like watch them like have their backyard dreams crushed. It's like it's super therapeutic. You're welcome to join if you'd like, Morgan.
I'd love to.
Okay, perfect. I'll send you the details when we're not recording.
Well, Genevieve, thank you so much for your time. This lived up to the hype that I had around it in my head. One of my favorite Survivor players ever.
Yes.
I just love you, and I thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much for hosting me, Morgan. I'm like now maybe going to get to be one of the people on your, like when I'm scrolling through you, maybe
100%.
one day I'll get to be there with you.
All right, that does it for this week's early episode of MPT. If you want more, you got to visit the Patreon. This week, we talked about Taylor Frankie Paul, season of The Bachelorette. We did a full recap of last week's episode of In the City, and everything else that doesn't make it into the normal MPT episode for the week goes in extra pop. So the link is in the show notes below if you want to come check it out. If not, I'll see you next week for another episode of MPT. Back to your regularly scheduled programming on Thursday. So I'll see you then. And as always, love you like sis.